Welcome to Facts TV News, where everything is true. Strong security presence in Homestead, St. Catherine following shooting death of man. Members of the security forces were at the hour maintaining a noticeable presence in Homestead, St. Catherine following an early shooting incident in a section of the community which left one man dead. According to reports, sometime after 4 o'clock yesterday morning, residents reported hearing what sounded like gunfire. Later checks were made inside a house in Pittsburgh Avenue, and a male resident was discovered near his bed with what appeared to be several gunshot wounds. 5 spent casings were retrieved from the crime scene. Investigators say the deceased has been identified as Orlando Bennett, alias Bugsy, of a Pittsburgh address. It's unclear whether Mr. Bennett was alone at home at the time of the attack. Investigators say the motive for his killing remains unclear. In the meantime, St. Catherine North investigators have also been called to another shooting scene in Rosemont, Linstead. No immediate details are available at this time with the second shooting. Firearm stolen in Santa Cruz, St. Elizabeth. The police have launched a manhunt for 2 men who stole the loaded licensed firearm of a businessman in Santa Cruz, St. Elizabeth. It's reported that about 2 p.m., the businessman parked his Toyota Tacoma truck on the compound of a plaza in Santa Cruz to conduct business in a nearby store. 2 men traveling in a gray Nissan Sylphy later drove into the plaza. It's reported that they threw a brick into the front passenger window of the businessman's truck, entered and stole a bag containing his licensed firearm, along with 16 rounds of ammunition. The robbers made good their escape. Double murder in downtown Kingston. Gunmen carried out a deadly attack in downtown Kingston, leaving 2 men dead. The deceased have been identified as 61-year-old Nevertont of West Bay, Garvey Meadows in Portsmouth, St. Catherine, and 43-year-old Michael James, a businessman of Luke Lane, Kingston. The men were fatally shot at a juice outlet along Luke Lane. About 8 o'clock, Mr. James and Mr. Tate were at the juice outlet when 2 armed men walked up and opened fire at them. Mr. Tate died on the spot while Mr. James died while receiving treatment at the Kingston Public Hospital. No motive has been established for the killings. Mayor calls for an increase in motor vehicle license fees to help finance fixing roads. Mayor of Port Murray and Chairman of the St. Mary Municipal Corporation, Richard Query, is calling for an increase in motor vehicle license fees to help finance the fixing of the roads. Mr. Query made the suggestion at the recent Municipal Corporation meeting. Mr. Query, who said the monthly allotment to councils was insufficient, argued that the absence of a dedicated source of funds makes it difficult to maintain and repair the roads, and I don't think any motorist would have a problem paying an increase motor vehicle license if those funds are utilized to provide them with better roads to traverse on. Island Traffic Authority reviewing deadline for paying outstanding tickets. The Island Traffic Authority has responded to call to extend the deadline for the payment of outstanding tickets, stating that it intends to review the time limit. Director of the Island Traffic Authority, Kenny Hart, recently pointed out that under the Road Traffic Act 2018, which the regulations bring into effect, the driver's license of a motorist with 1 outstanding ticket will not be renewed. The ITA director says the consideration to review the deadline was based on the feedback from members of the public in favor of extending the deadline. The regulations, which introduce new offenses and increased fines for traffic violations, bring the Road Traffic Act 2018 into effect, was approved by Parliament in July. 2 men arrested for allegedly stealing oranges. Swift action by the Bagwalk Police in St. Catherine on Saturday led to the apprehension of 2 men with stolen oranges valued over $200,000. The men were held on a property owned by Tradewind Citrus Limited. Laborers Kevor Campbell, 20, and Luke Gill, 21, both of West Prospect District in Bagwalk, have been charged for murder larceny. It is reported that about 8 p.m., the police were on patrol when they saw the men and accosted them. Checks allegedly revealed that they had 29 bags of oranges. The men were arrested and subsequently charged. Both accused are scheduled to appear in the St. Catherine Parish Court in Linstead on November 16. Manchester taxi operator accused of robbing woman at gunpoint. A Manchester taxi operator has been charged with robbery with aggravation following an incident in St. Andrew on October 31st. He is 32-year-old Roman Robinson of Wint Road, Mandeville. The Halfway Tree police say a woman entered a Toyota Probox taxi with 3 men aboard near Papine in St. Andrew. They say while traveling along Old Hope Road, one of the men brandished a firearm, held up the woman and robbed her of an iPhone valued at $95,000 and $500. The woman escaped without injury. She reported the incident to the police, and Robinson was taken into custody later that same day. He was charged on Saturday after being pointed out in an identification parade. JPS blackout caused by major generating unit going offline. The Jamaica Public Service JPS has apologized to customers who were affected by an unplanned outage early Sunday morning. A major generating unit went offline unexpectedly, resulting in automatic load shedding as the system responded to protect itself and limit the extent of the outage, Winsome Column, the company's communications chief, told reporters. The outage occurred about 1:41 a.m. and all customers were restored by 2:30 a.m., she said. The electricity disturber could not immediately state how many customers were affected. The JPS confirmed that services sections of a number of communities in Kingston and St. Andrew, St. James and St. Catherine were disrupted. Jamaicans have not returned to financial normality since COVID-19 restrictions ended. Members of the business community say that while COVID-19 restrictions have ended, thousands of Jamaicans have not returned to financial normality and are barely coping with the surge in inflation. President of the Jamaica Manufacturers and Exporter Association, John Mafu, says, while the unemployment rate has decreased, there are still many persons without a job, and President of the Micro, Small and Medium-Sized Enterprise Alliance, Donovan Wickle, says several businesses suffered during the pandemic and have still not recovered. Mr. Mahfood asserted that $60 billion supplementary estimate tabled in Parliament on Tuesday is a clear sign that high inflation is having a negative impact on the economy. Both men were speaking on the morning agenda on Power 106 last week. Time to focus on annual conference, not local polls, says Mackenzie. Chairman of the ruling Jamaica Labour Party JLP and local government minister Desmond Mackenzie on Saturday deflect questions about the party's readiness for the local polls. The focus now, he said, is on the party's 79th annual conference, which will be held in Kingston next Sunday. The elections are due in February. We are still far away from February. We're looking at the existing situation now as it relates to the work that we have to do in this calendar year. So, when we get close to that point, we will indicate what the real position is, stated Mackenzie during a media briefing held at the Montego Bay Conventional Center in St. James after a private session for party members. The party is in a mood in terms of getting the base of the party organized to meet the 79th annual conference. The conference will be hosted at the National Arena in Kingston at a cost of $50 million Jamaican dollars. This local government election is constitutionally due no later than February of the next year. It was postponed in November 2020 and again in January of this year due to COVID-19. The JLP has constantly expressed readiness for the local polls whenever they are called. Addressing an Area Council for meeting at the Bethel Primary School in Hanover last week Sunday, the party's deputy leader J.C. Hutchinson encouraged council caretakers in waiting to be patient as their reward is coming. They have been working hard and I take my hats off to them. It is strenuous on them, but I say to them, keep up the good work. The time is coming when you should be successful, he said. He also predicted that the People's National Party will lose its stronghold on the Westmoreland and Hanover municipal corporations when the next local government election is called. Hutchinson said this would give the governing party a clean sweep of the 5 parishes in the area. We have St. Elizabeth, we have St. James, and we have Trelawney municipal corporations. I am saying to you that with all the hard work, I am now declaring that when the time comes, we are going to take Westmoreland and Hanover municipal corporations, he said to a round of applause from party supporters. Wholeness to outline waste management strategy at the annual conference. With the arrival of 50 long-awaited garbage trucks that are being relied upon to ease an almost island-wide problem with efficient collection, Prime Minister Andrew Holness will next Saturday lay out the government strategy for waste management going forward. He will address a full sum of questions of the garbage compactors. What are the forward thinking and planning of the government as it relates to garbage and to the entire solid waste management of the country? So, I will save my comments for the Honourable Prime Minister to expand more on that to come next week Sunday, Desmond Mackenzie said on Saturday. The local government minister was speaking during a media briefing in his capacity as conference chairman after a private session held in Montego Bay. The JLP's 79th annual conference will be held in Kingston next Sunday. The trucks, Mackenzie said, are in Jamaican waters. They are 2 weeks ahead of the November 25th arrival date previously mooted, but the original plan was for the trucks to be sourced last year. They were put on hold as funds were rerouted to battle COVID-19. We can say the trucks are in Jamaica. It is a commitment that we made and a commitment that we have kept and a commitment that we will speak a lot more on next week, said Mackenzie. Please remember to subscribe, like, share, and click the notification bell.